So we're huge fans of both Danielle Harris and Ellie Cornell, and I know I've heard you mention it took a while to cast both of their roles. So what I wanted to ask was, what was it about each of them that stood out and made you realize they were your Jamie and your Rachel?
Well, I started in LA in both cases because we read and read and read. And the problem with young girls in LA and in New York is that they've only done one thing, which is commercials at that age, right? So there wasn't even the whole Disney, model of TV shows yet. Or and if they've been casted in anything, it's a sitcom, right? So all the casting agents and moms are always telling these kids, to be up and be up and be full of, they're supposed to entertain all the time and be cute. So everybody, yeah, yeah, it's all put on a
It's
show.
authentic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
So,
opposite of authentic. Yeah.
right, there's not one real moment. And I finally, even when I gave him notes, I finally went to Mustafa and I said, "Listen, do you think we could look in New York because this isn't working out?" And amazingly, he said yes. Most producers would say, if you can't find an actress in it, I'm not flying somebody out, all those things. But he wasn't like that. He listened to what I was trying to do. I said, I think we're going to get a different kind of person in New York than we're going to find here. And so he amazingly set us up in New York with a casting session. And about the sixth person who came in the door was Danielle. Now but I think she was playing like seven in the movie, but she was closer to nine. So she was definitely older than the character, but she was tiny. And she walked into the room with this kind of poise and because she was older than seven, but she looked it, she looked right. And I mean, of course she read, but it was just like done when she walked into the room. I was like, well, that's her. It was really one of those moments because she was poised, she was sophisticated, but she was still vulnerable, smart as a whip. I just worked with her. She still is, of course. But so that was that. So we found her in New York. And then there were two actresses who for the Ellie Cornell part, and we couldn't decide. And Mustafa wanted one, and I was kind of interested in Ellie for the same reason, because she had a very East Coast vibe, which to me was more Midwestern. And you can appreciate it coming from Ohio. There is a different energy between Van Nuys and Chagrin Falls or something,
Yeah.
right? There's just everything is different. And so I thought Ellie had that. She could play a Midwesterner convincingly. And so we did a screen test because we couldn't agree. And I said, let's just shoot it on film. Let's do a real old-fashioned screen test, which we did. So that I didn't want anybody to be show busy. I didn't want anybody to be trying for a laugh or trying for a tear or trying to seduce the audience. I just wanted them to be in the room, like just be real. So I was right about that because they both were just convincing and they never tried to oversell it.
And were there any other like big names, like maybe not at that time, but later that came in to read for you?
Well,
Because I've heard, I can tell you what I've heard.
I think sadly that girl who was murdered was one of the ones. Do you remember? It was
Rebecca Schaefer?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
How about Lisa Wilcox? Does that ring a bell? I've heard that mentioned.
But Rebecca Schaefer, I think, was in the running.
Oh, wow.
This is before that tragedy. Yeah.
How about Melissa Joan Hart? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I think she was in the mix.
That's funny.
And I met and read a ton of people because it's a final girl in a Halloween movie, so it was something that people wanted to do. But no one who knew who Ellie Cornell was, but she just, she could just sit and like hold the moment. I don't know how else to describe it, and I have to really hand it to Mustafa Akkad because instead of fighting me all the way, right? He just sort of listened. He would make his suggestions, but he kind of let me make the movie. And that's, not always the case, to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard some
We've
nightmare
heard
stories.
doing this podcast for years and interviewing so many filmmakers. We have heard it can go either way. The studio can force them to change the movie completely, or they can be on their side. But I think it's more often that the studio pushes to have, their changes made and everything.
Well, the funny thing is, and I really believe that they would have just as good a chance, because they always fail anyway. They'd have just as good a chance of winning if they would hire someone they believe in. Like, don't hire a director you don't like, but find someone you really like and then let them make the movie. Because all your notes and all your test screenings and all your changes and all your reshoots, I know you're chasing a hit and you're chasing a win, but most of the time you were better off in the first place. It's funny, but it's human nature. They want to control it. They want to make it theirs. But how many hit movies are there really? Versus
Yeah.
how many complete bombs.
And also, how many times do you hear the studio forced us to make this change and then it was perfect? Like, it never happens like that. It usually kind of tanks things.
Too many cooks.
Yeah,